Oh, I'm delighted to say Mark Lawrenson is with us. Mark, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm all good, thank you. I'm here in sunny Mallorca at the moment.
Oh, it's glorious sunshine.
Mm.
Yeah. Will Arsenal be feeling the sun on their backs this morning, having managed to rescue a point from a winning 2-2 position against Liverpool, or 2-0 position, or will they be like, here comes the blue machine to crush us?
No, I think if you'd said to Arteta before the game, would you take a point at Anfield? I think he would have taken it. He's been there before. Obviously, he's played for Everton exactly as well. So no, I think they take it. I mean, obviously they were really good. I was at the game. They were very, very good, but very, very, very good until, of course, Liverpool's kind of upped the ante and started to pressurise them, and then it was completely different. But Liverpool, as you know, haven't been really like that for the majority of the season. And when you look at their season, I would say to you, which would be, for me, the two games that to capture the season would have been certainly 7-0 at home against Manchester United, 6-7 days later, 1-0 defeat at Bournemouth. And that's the way they've been. And you just don't know at the moment what performance you're going to get from Liverpool, which is a real worry. And I think certainly that this is the first season under Klopp where the opposition have come to Anfield and kind of thought, look, you can get at these, and that's exactly what's happened, to be honest with you. And teams have found it easier to score against them because they've been a little bit all over the place defensively, certainly.
There was a moment, Mark, towards the end of the first half, and I was thinking at the time, this could be a crucial moment, and Chris Sutton, I think it was, making the point as well, where Granit Xhaka comes together with Trent Alexander-Arnold just before the end of the first half and gets the Anfield crowd into the game. Before that, it felt like the Liverpool home support just wasn't really there. Was that a mistake on Granit Xhaka's part? That it seems that little coming together and those little off the ball incidents were certainly getting the Anfield crowd behind the home team.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember, but last year as well, in the same fixture, nothing was really happening in the game, and Arteta lost the plot a little bit and started screaming and shouting on the touchline. Had a little go, I think, at Klopp, and all of a sudden the Cops woke up, and I think in the end Liverpool went on to win 4, and it was a little bit similar. But this is a different Arsenal now. Yes, they're a very, very, very good side. We know all about that, but they've got a little bit of steel about them as well. The goalkeeper, when needed as well at the weekend, was very, very good. I mean, the save he made very, very late on, well, he made a couple, was outstanding, and they've got this belief. And in fairness to them, even when Liverpool were going at them and looking like they were going to score, they still had opportunities, Arsenal, to actually end the game anyway. So there's more about Arsenal this season, and probably there's less about Liverpool at the moment.
There's those little incidents, and I think Arsenal had tactics. Certainly this was brought up as well, the game management. So the 20th minute, Aaron Ramsdale brings on the physio to look for his eye, and you see all the Arsenal players running over to get some instructions and a drink off Arteta. It happened later in the first half as well. Gabriel went down, and kind of Arsenal used that. It felt like a ploy, and it felt like a tactic and something that was actually planned. I don't know if that's something that maybe crops up.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely, 100%. And it's very, very frustrating. And it's difficult. It's difficult for the referee, because if all of a sudden they go down and stay down, then the ref has no other option. He might go say, are you all right, or whatever, to the player who's injured, and he go, oh no, I've done this, I've done, and yeah, that's crept into football, which for me is takes away some of the fun about it. That all of a sudden teams now realise. I'll tell you the worst, I think, is Newcastle. Newcastle do it all the time now. So I think in regards to next season, I'm not wanting obviously to wish away this season. In regards to the next season, I think that the Premier League are going to have a little bit of a look at this. Maybe even sort of say, well, I'll tell you what, if you can walk, off you go, and the game will go on. And I think that will quickly stop it. But it's generally here all the time now.
If you're Arsenal, what do you want Manchester City's results in the Champions League to be? Do you want them to win every game all the way through, or do you want them to have a crushing, spirit-shocking defeat, like an all-time classic meltdown against Bayern?
No, you want them to keep winning. You want them to keep winning because they're going to have to keep playing. And as we know, it's a bit like the Holy Grail for Manchester City, the Champions League. They've come very close. I mean, if you think about last season, they should have beaten Madrid. And the amount of chances they had at the Bernabeu, even late in the game as well, they should have beaten them. And that, at the moment, for Pep, it is the big thing for me. I would say to you now that if it were possible, if you said to Guardiola, right, you've got a choice, you win the Champions League or you win the Premier League, I think straight away he'd 100% win the Champions League, because as I say, that's the thing that's missing. And I think, we never hear from the owners, we don't really see the owners, but if you are one of the owners, you'd say straight away, yes, please, Champions League. That would probably square the circle for Manchester City as far as they're concerned.
The way the fixtures are falling, Arsenal play next Sunday, and City end up playing Saturday evening. Does this matter? Does actually the fact that City are getting to play a little bit before them, does that just add extra pressure, or is that the type of stuff that we talk about and think about, but actually for the players it doesn't really matter?
It's the latter, because you've still got to win the game. Obviously, they would love the fact that maybe City might fail a little bit, maybe draw or something like that, which would be even more incentive. But they've got a massive incentive, Arsenal, and you'd have to say, they have been the team of the season so far as the league's concerned. But I think when you go out and play, you block everything off. Yes, they'll probably watch the match if they can before the game, or all those kind of things. But they will block all that out and on the go. And I think there's a difference now about Arsenal. There's a kind of a real steely side to the team. And certainly in the way that they play as well. I mean, the two wide boys, and they're brilliant for them, because they stretch teams and they make the pitch bigger as well for them, which allows them, obviously, in different circumstances, to create all these chances and get a little bit more space than they would have certainly in the last year or so than last season. So, yeah, I think as a player, you once you go out to play, you blank everything. You don't kind of think, after 25 minutes, it's 0-0, we're not scoring, we might drop 2 points. That for me doesn't really happen.
Curious, Mark, to get your thoughts on Trent Alexander-Arnold. When Liverpool had the ball, he was certainly moving a lot closer to the midfield than we've seen him. Kind of a la Zinchenko, and it's very much a Pep Guardiola style of play. But Gary Neville's comments on that, he wasn't a fan. He said, just looking at Trent in midfield, they've only had 2 or 3 days since the Chelsea game, and you're asking someone to do something where you can't have worked on it a lot. We know other teams do it, but you get the feeling that's been planned and worked on, talking about Zinchenko and Man City. What did you make of all that? It seemed like a ploy that worked for large degree portions of the game for Liverpool, but clearly Gary Neville's not having it.
Oh, well, who's worried about Gary Neville? He's going to be the next mayor of Manchester, so it doesn't really matter. Listen, I thought he was good. I mean, going forward, he's outstanding. We know he's not great defensively. I thought it worked. I mean, obviously, in terms of the way that he played, then he's much better in the opponent's half rather than in his own half. He doesn't like and doesn't want to play kind of defensively, and I think it's a really clever play. It was a really clever play from Klopp, because he's thinking, how do we sort that? Because he's such a good player when he goes forward, and he's so constructive for the team that I think it was really, really good the way that he handled it. And the other thing as well is, I think, if you're playing in that team and you look at Trent and you kind of think, what's he best at? Well, he's best at going forward. He's best at being on the ball and seeing like the big picture, as they call it, and all those kind of things. What's he not good at? He's not particularly good at defending. Well, try and take him out of that a little bit. And people have said, just play him in midfield. But I think this could be the way forward for him, to be quite honest with you, because he just did give them that extra dimension as well. And for the opposition, when players come from those positions to the fullback area and come and join in, it's very, very difficult for the opposition to pick him up. So it was a good ploy, and whether they do that on a regular basis, obviously we'll see. I think it's Leeds next, isn't it? Leeds away. So we'll see from that point of view whether they're going to continue with it. But I thought he did really, really well in that role.
Klopp in the press conference last week had said the elephant in the room is that I'm still here after all the other sackings that had happened. And again, it was a slight change in the way he was talking about this stuff. But I'll put it to you, Mark, that it will be absolutely madness for Liverpool to not have Klopp as their manager next season, given that if he was available on the market, there's no job in the world where the owners of that club would not want him to be the manager. You know, sometimes you forget just how difficult it is to find a world-class manager, and when you have one, if there's a bit of a blip, you reassess, you take your time, and you move on together. That it seems from the outside that it would be outrageous for Liverpool to be thinking about replacing Klopp at this stage.
Let me tell you this: he's the most important person in the football club. You'd sell most of the players before you got rid of Jurgen Klopp, and in fairness to the owners, they've been really, really good with him. Yes, like any manager, he would always like another 100 million to spend on players, as they all do. But no, he's earned the right to decide when he leaves. I think that's probably what I think about him in terms of that. That's the best way I can kind of put this forward. And he's just, with the season, as everybody knows, it's not been a particularly good season. There are all sorts of reasons, and it does happen. And why do they have all those injuries, all those kind of things, loss of form, etc.? So no, he eventually, if he wants to leave, he will make that decision. Actually, in fact, I think his wife Ula will make the decision, because she's very much, I think, the one who's the driving force behind him. And apparently, everybody says she's met her. She is the one, basically. So no, I don't. He's not going to leave. He's not that kind of person. And you'll say to me, well, he did it before, and at Mainz and Dortmund and all those kind of places. But no, I just think he knows, like everybody knows. And you get to Anfield, and I mean, I was there as well at the game on Sunday. I was talking to quite a few of the guys in one of the lounges, and everybody, to a man and a woman, were just say, Klopp, they absolutely love him. And at the moment, it's not an issue. And I think where he's not so much fortunate, but it's good for the fact that the owners obviously have sporting franchises. So they understand injuries, they understand loss of form, all those kind of things. But generally, at the football club, they just leave them alone. And people say, oh, they don't come to the games, they don't do this, but it doesn't really matter, and he's not bothered about that. As long as he's got their backing, that's absolutely fine. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now in the summer. And they're saying it's going to be a little bit of a revolving door at the football club. Lots of people out, lots of people in, but it remains to be seen. Get rid of players is far easier than getting players in, and whether they get the main target, as everybody knows. If they do, it would be like a fantastic boost for Klopp and the football club.
Mark, Konstantin Hatzidakis is a name that we didn't know before the weekend, but was the linesman, and I'm sure we'll be hearing his name mentioned a few more times over the coming days. He's been pulled off games while the FA, of course, investigate this alleged elbow on Andy Robertson, and clearly going down the tunnel, Robertson wasn't too pleased. The argument is that players shouldn't surround the linesman. The other argument is that the linesman shouldn't react in the way in which he did. What did you make of the whole incident?
Both. I mean, you shouldn't. Why would you harangue a linesman anyway? Because in fairness, he's just a bit part player. Because with VAR and all those kind of things, lots of his decisions aren't ultimately his decision, are they? Because they can be taken away from him. So you shouldn't surround him. But it wasn't right in what he's done. It'd be interesting to see what happens, because obviously there's the new Supremo in charge of VAR and the referees, etc. But look, and Andy Robertson's quite fiery anyway, and he was certainly frustrated. But I mean, as I say, I was there, and we didn't really see it, because just the position where we were, they sort of gone, and then we just heard this kind of kerfuffle, commotion, call it what you will, but it's one of those a little bit blown out of proportion, isn't it? But from Andy Robertson's point of view, I actually think it's quite funny to be honest with you, because he can be fiery anyway. Andy being a mad Scot.
Just a little bit. Final one for me on Liverpool, Mark. Mo Salah's penalty miss. very, very similar to the miss just left of the post against Bournemouth not so long ago as well. Is it at the stage now where you take Mo Salah off penalties? Because clearly they're resulting in Liverpool dropping some seriously valuable points.
Yeah, I think you'd have a chat and say, sorry, Mo, but you need to score more from open play. Yeah, you do. You say, look, we're gonna have someone else, and it might be just what he needs as well, because he's been okay this season. And you know what it's like. You know how people put 2 and 2 together and make 5 goals. He's got a new contract. He's getting so much money a week, and he's not particularly bothered. He doesn't want to get injured. He's not quite giving all for his team. But he's just been going through a little bit of a phase where he has not been as effective. But then you could argue that about the team. The rest of the team, very, very few of the players in the team, when you look at them, can say they've had a really good season. And there, for me, lies the problem with Liverpool at the moment, because, excuse me, you don't know. It's like every time they turn up, it's a toss of a coin. Heads are really good, and tails, they can be awful, as we've seen latterly.
Big win for David Moyes the weekend. Keeps the wolf from the door for another week.
Yeah. I mean, he's been there, seen it. He's done all those kind of things, and he knows he's under pressure. But I think the thing is with him that the owner, there's only one owner now. Sadly, the other owner died at West Ham, as you know. But I think the owner's very, very much behind him, and of course they're still in Europe, so who knows what they'll do. But if you said to me that, half an hour from this interview, that West Ham have sacked David Moyes, and then you said to me, who do you think they should get? Well, it would be David Moyes, would it not?
At this stage of the season, when you look at all the other clubs desperately trying to find a manager and incapable of hiring anybody, absolutely, Moyes is one of those people with the experience of what it takes to get out of that. So he should be all right. They've enough quality compared to the other teams down there.
Yeah, excuse me, and I think they've got a little bit more steel than a lot of the other teams. So yeah, no, you just keep them on. I mean, and the fact you mentioned about all the managers that have left is if you were owning a football club, excuse me, making all the decisions, surely, if you think I'm going to sack the manager, you'd have somebody in place, would you not?
Yes.
And if you look at all these teams at the moment, they obviously just haven't. And now the latest, it's obviously there's always a fashion in the Premier League, and the fashion now is get some guys, not just one, few guys in, just to keep you in the league, which is very, very strange, but now seems to be the kind of trend that everybody's doing.
Mark, we'll leave it there. Enjoy the sunshine. Thanks a million.
Will do. Thank you.